Welcome to our session on probability. What we're going to be looking at today are basically questions they could ask in exam regarding probability. So what I want you to do, as usual, if you could pause the video right now and try question 7 and then play the video. So pause the video right now and then try question 7. Okay, hope you've tried it. Let's have a go at it. It says that one counter is selected at random from a box containing blue, green, and red counters. The probability that it is a blue counter is 0.5, and the probability that it is a green counter is 0.4. Now, if there are 4 red counters in the box, how many counters are there altogether? Okay, they're not asking us the probability of getting a red, of picking a red counter, but they're basically asking us how many there are. Now, to do that, the first thing you need to do is to work out the probability, that is a red counter, okay, before you worry about how many there are. Now, remember that in that particular box, the probability of everything is going to add up to 1. So if I think about the probability of picking a blue being 0.5, and the probability of picking a green is 0.4, then I know that the probability of picking a red will now be 0.1 then, because everything must always add up to 1. Okay. So if I was to add this to that, I must get 1, because blue, green, and red are all the counters I have. So they add up to 1 as probability. Now this P means probability, and B stands for for blue. So probability of picking a blue, probability of picking a green, probability of picking a red. Okay, so they all add up to that. Now, what I can then do now is to probably convert these decimals into percentages or even into fractions. Now this is 5/10. Now this 5/10 is the same as 10%, 50%, because it's a half, right? So that's going to be 50%. And then this one here will be 4/10, which is going to be 40%. Okay. Now this one here is going to be 1/10, which is going to be 10%. Okay. So now we say that the chance of picking a red is 1/10 or 10%. Right. Now, but they said this, that if there are 4 red counters, they are now telling us how many red counters there are. How many counters are there altogether? What we're going to need to do now is to link this 10% to the 4. And we can now say this, that 10% of all the counters, so 10% of all the counters, let's put a box there for all of them, equals to 4. Okay. So what you want to do now is to count how many there are altogether. How many there are altogether would basically be 100%. So we're saying this, that 10% of a number is 4. What is that number? Now, what I need you to see is ask yourself, how many 10% are in 100%? Now, you can see that there are 10% in 100. Okay, so you times that by 10, which means that even likewise, you're going to times this 4 by 10. So the answer is going to be 40. So 10% of everything is 4. It means that everything, which is 100%, would be 40, because 10% of 40 is 4. Okay, so all the counters that I have are basically 40. It means that the blues are basically 20, because 50% is a half, right? And then this ones are 4. 20 plus 4 is 24, and therefore this will therefore make 16 to become 40 altogether. Okay, so that's how to do that question. So the answer is basically 40. Right, what I want you to do now is to have a go at question 8. Pause the video and have a go at question 8. Okay, hope you've tried that. Question 8 says, a spinner has 3 sections, colored pink, blue, and green. The probability it lands on pink is 0.1. If the probability it lands on blue is half the probability it lands on green, find the probability that it lands on green. Now, sometimes you got to use algebra in some of these questions. So the probability it lands on pink is 0.1. We also have blues, and we also have greens. Okay, we do not know exactly what the probability is for blue or for green, but what you know one thing, what is one thing, that if we add all these probabilities, the answer should be equals to 1 or 1.0. But it says here, if the probability it lands on blue is half the probability it lands on green, so blue is half of green, right? So what you could do is that to make blues be x, if blues are x, then it means that greens will then be double, which is going to be 2x. Okay, so let's repeat that. The blues are half of the greens. So if the blues are x, it means that the greens will double, will be 2x. But then if I add all this together, the answer should be 1. So what I can now do is to form an equation. I will say that 0.1 plus this x plus this 2x all together should give me 1.0 or just 1. Okay. Then simplifying that, you put all the x's together. I've got 3x there equals to 1.0. Okay. Now to find what x is, I need to do the inverse with this 0.1. I need to take it away from the other side because it's positive. So 3x equals to 1.0 minus 0.1. That means 3x is going to be equals to 1.0 take away 0.1. If you do that properly, it's going to be 0.9. Okay. But you see, we don't want what 3x is, we want what x is, which means you're going to need to divide. So it's going to be 0.9 we're sharing into 3. Okay. So 0.9 shared into 3 is going to be 0.3. So that means that the chance that something is a blue is basically 0.3. And something that is a chance that something is a green will be double. So that's going to be 0.6. If you double 0.3, you get 0.6. Okay. Now, try to check if 0.1 plus 0.3 plus 0.6, if you add them all together, check if they add up to 1.0. And of course, they should. Now, let's check if you answer the question. The question says, if the probability it lands on blue is half the probability it lands on green, find the probability that it lands on green. So the chance that it lands on the green is 0.6. Okay, hope you got that.